I was halfway through explaining the new Vault 9 patch cycle when Ryan, the fresh-faced VP they just hired out of some West Coast startup, raised a hand and cut me off mid-sentence. He gave this little smirk and said, loud enough for the whole room to hear, "Honestly, an intern could do this job." Silence. You could hear the HVAC humming. I'd been running Veritech's IT infrastructure for 15 years, first one in every morning. The guy who kept us breathing through 2 vendor collapses and rebuilt our entire back end during the 2018 compliance audit, which, by the way, nearly took us off the damn grid. My hands had built the bones of that system. I bled for that place. Pam's nails clicked nervously against her coffee mug. Greg from finance looked up with this stunned, slack-jawed expression, like someone had just told him his dog got run over. The interns didn't say a word, just stared at their screens like, maybe if they didn't move, they wouldn't get dragged into whatever this was. I didn't say anything, didn't flinch. Just pushed my chair back slow, letting the metal legs drag across the tile with that long, pissed-off screech that filled the whole conference room. Reached into my back pocket, pulled out my badge, and slid it across the table right at Ryan. He blinked but didn't react. Just turned to one of the interns, 22 maybe, still had the sticker on her laptop, and said, "Let's get you ramped up on Matt's workflows. Should be straightforward. I walked out without a word, past the front desk, past the hallway where we used to tape up birthday cards and quarterly wins, out into the hot September sun. Quick note, before listening further, share which city or country you're watching from. Sat in my old Subaru, still had the cracked dashboard from where a battery blew out back in 2011, and checked my phone. 6 messages, all from my team. Pam. What just happened? Greg. Dude, are you okay? Melissa. Did you seriously quit? I didn't answer, just sat there, no music, no AC. Let the heat wrap around me and waited as the sun dipped low over the parking lot. I didn't go anywhere, just drove home, parked behind the fence like always, and walked inside without turning on a single light. Grabbed the bottle of Jameson from the cabinet above the fridge, poured 2 fingers into the nearest clean glass, and sat down at my personal rig, the one they didn't know existed. Dual tower, cold-synced drives, dark mode terminals glowing like a damn lighthouse in the room. No Slack, no Zoom, no corporate spyware on this machine, just clean raw tools, and every undocumented fix I'd written since 2010. I booted up the archive manager. Vaulted folders blinked to life. Compliance configs from 3 vendor stacks ago. Notes from the 2018 audit, the same one they barely survived because I spent 2 nights sleeping on the server room floor, fixing broken chain signatures while legal ran around like their heads were on fire. Started exporting the logs, encrypting configs, copying over the code that only made sense to me. No comments, no documentation, just raw logic. The system was ugly as hell, but it worked. Always had. It was held together like duct tape on a collapsing bridge, but I knew where the weak beams were. I built them. Around 7:15, my phone buzzed. Voicemail. Claire from corporate, fake warm voice, like she was reading from a script. "Hey Matt, this is Claire. Mr. Hanley wants to know what happened today. Can you please give us a call back as soon as possible?" Didn't bother listening to the rest. Hanley knew exactly what happened, and Claire, she was just the middle link. HR trying to paper cut their way through a bomb blast. I kept working. No panic, no rush. I wasn't angry, not even a little. I was calm, sharp, like a soldier cleaning his rifle after getting discharged. Not out of hate, just because it's what you do when something ends. At 8:03, I ran a dry checksum on the Vault 9 protocol tree. Everything intact, tokens still live, backup custodian undefined, exactly as I'd left it. No one else had noticed, not yet. 84 hours. That's how long it had before entering full compliance lockdown. Per protocol, CP19, line 72, the one I wrote. They'd never read it. Never even opened the damn policy. But I had. Every word. At 8:42 p.m., on the dot, I logged into the admin console and stared at the terminal. Custodian, Elk King status. Active. Last signature, September 19th, 8:17 a.m. That name, Elk King, was my root admin. Nobody else knew it, not even the CTO. No notes, no paper trail. All clearance updates were biometric, tied to my retina and my keystroke cadence. It was military-grade paranoid. I hovered over the command bar and typed it slow. Revoke admin custodian, L. King. The cursor blinked once. Then the confirmation prompt popped up. Are you sure? This action cannot be undone. I didn't even blink. Clicked yes. The terminal went dark for a second, then it flashed red. Custodian role revoked. No replacement defined. Vault 9 enters passive compliance hold in 84:0. 0:0. 0. Clock started ticking. That was it. No fireworks, no alarm bells, just a soft hum from the tower fan and a blinking terminal. I leaned back, took a sip of my drink, and watched the countdown begin. That system had protected them for a decade, and now it was protecting itself from them. Monday morning came quiet. I was up early, made coffee, and sat on the back deck with my laptop open and a front row seat to the slow unraveling. No emails from corporate, no missed calls, nothing. Which told me one thing. Ryan still thought everything was under control. Around 8:15, I remote viewed the internal message board. First post from Ryan. Team, Melissa and Jordan will be dividing up Matt's workflows. Let's stay focused and keep pushing forward. I took a sip of coffee and watched. Melissa logged into the compliance terminal first. She'd always been quick, sharp, but not Vault 9 sharp. It took maybe 20 seconds before the first error hit her screen. Token expired. Custodian undefined. She tried again. Same error. Jordan leaned over her desk, reading it like it was in another language. He opened a browser and typed it into Google like some Reddit post was gonna explain what a federal compliance custodian is. Spoiler, it wasn't. They flagged Ryan. Agged. I could imagine it. Melissa waving him over, trying to stay professional, while her stomach was probably doing flips. Ryan barely looked, just waved his hand and said something like, ignore that. Probably legacy noise from Matt's old configs. By 9:40, Melissa had emailed Mark, the CTO, asking for help escalating access. She, C'd legal. That was smart. She knew something felt off. At 10:17, I watched the audit sync start to fail in real time. Registry handshake, rejected. Custodian signature missing. Vault 9, status, passive hold. Federal registry syncs every 72 hours. That means the last clean connection was Friday morning, right before I walked. By 11 a.m., legal pinged Mark directly. Melissa was slamming through help desk tickets. Jordan had 3 Stack Overflow tabs open, trying to figure out what a signature chain even meant. The team chat went quiet. You could smell the panic through the screen. Ryan, though, still smiling, still coasting on startup buzzwords and whatever bullshit he thought worked in San Diego. He walked into the dev pit that morning like he was announcing a TED Talk. Said something like, we're going to streamline ops, modernize legacy flows, maybe even shift toward open architecture. Melissa asked again, more directly this time. Who's the current Vault 9 custodian? Ryan blinked. No one, I guess. It's just an admin role, right? I nearly choked on my coffee. At 11:42, Mark pushed a test file through the sync queue. It failed hard. 3 errors stacked. Token mismatch, custodian undefined, and signature chain broken. That wasn't just a flag. That was a red light and siren. Legal emailed again. This time with the subject line, urgent, compliance access failure, escalation required. And Ryan, still calling it a temporary bug. They didn't get it yet, thought they were still in control. Thought they could debug their way out of it with half-baked patchwork and team huddles. But Vault 9 wasn't a bug, it was a countdown. The moment I pulled that trigger, the clock started ticking, 36 hours before the system locked itself down for federal review. And they were already 7 hours in. By Tuesday morning, the warning signs weren't just blinking. They were screaming. First email came in at 6:57 a.m. from an automated vendor system. Procurement transaction failed. Compliance token validation error. Then another, then a third. By 8 o'clock, even the janitor could tell something was off. Half the office lights didn't auto-activate because the smart grid config was still tied to Vault 9. That's how deep it went. Even the lights knew I was gone. Melissa tried sending out the daily compliance logs, bounce backs. Every email flagged custodian signature mismatch. Transmission blocked. Jordan attempted a manual override. Terminal spit out the same line, over and over. Override rejected. No active custodian. At 9:11 a.m., Greg from finance texted me. "Hey man, did you booby-trap the system?" That one made me laugh, out loud. First time in days. At 9:22, Jenna, Legal's junior analyst, hit me on Signal. She was the only one smart enough to use something untraceable. "We're in trouble. It won't let anyone in." I didn't respond. Didn't need to. The system was doing exactly what it was designed to do when handled improperly. Seal itself, refuse entry, force legal review, nothing malicious, just protocol. By 10 o'clock, CTO Mark sent a full trace report to Hanley's office. Error log stacked back to Friday. Vault 9 was in protective mode, not failed, not crashed, just sealed. Melissa sent a message to the whole ops channel. "If anyone knows how to reauthorize Vault 9 access, speak up now." No one did. Jordan was quiet by then, probably too deep in some API documentation rabbit hole to be useful. At 1:37, they called in the outside vendor, a third-party contractor who used to work on the Vault 9, installed back in 2015. The guy charged $900 an hour just to tell them the truth. "This system requires a live custodian signature. Without it, there is no system." By 3 o'clock, Legal was in full-blown escalation mode. Every open contract was now technically non-compliant. Every procurement order dead on arrival. They couldn't file for new grants, couldn't renew existing certifications, couldn't even send a federal invoice without that damn signature chain. Meanwhile, I took a walk, left my phone at home, grabbed a sandwich from the corner deli, nodded at Larry the owner, came back around 5 o'clock. Opened my laptop, checked my inbox, 52 new messages from various corners of Veritech, didn't read a single one. I opened a new draft, addressed it to Henry Torres, Office of Federal Compliance Operations. He was a contact from the 2018 audit, knew me, respected my work. Subject line, custodian role, vacated, Veritech Solutions. Body was clean, no rant, no drama, just the facts. As of 8:42 p.m. on September 21st, 2025, the role of Federal Compliance Custodian, Vault 9, Protocol ID V9 CL King, was formally revoked. No replacement was authorized. Attached is the official signature timestamp, digitally signed and confirmed. Per CP19 protocol, Vault 9 has entered automatic passive hold, pending federal review. I attach the file, check the hash, press send at 6:23 p.m. And that was it. The system's fate wasn't in their hands anymore. It was in Washington's. From this point on, Ryan wasn't arguing with me. He was arguing with the federal government, and that was a fight he'd already lost. Wednesday morning, the building felt like it was holding its breath. The hum of normalcy was gone. No usual keyboard clatter, no hallway chatter. Just red blinking status lights and a slow crawl of fear seeping into every floor. The compliance errors weren't occasional anymore. They were everywhere. Terminals pinged failure messages every 5 minutes. The big wall display in Ops, the one that used to show audit health, was now lit up like a Christmas tree from hell. Ryan walked around saying it was residual noise from deprecated processes. He actually used that phrase, out loud, multiple times. Melissa looked like she hadn't slept. She'd been pulling 12-hour days trying to sort through logs she didn't even understand. She had 2 laptops open, 3 notepads scattered across her desk, and a half-eaten protein bar sitting untouched since Monday. Jordan was still deep in Stack Overflow, copying random commands into the terminal, hoping one would crack open Vault 9 like a piñata. At 9:34, Mark, the CTO, stormed into Ryan's office with a printed trace report in his hand, not a digital copy, printed. Like he needed the weight of it. He slammed it down on Ryan's desk. "You see this?" he snapped. Ryan barely glanced. "I'm aware of the issue. It's being addressed." Mark didn't blink. "No, it's not. Every single audit sync has been rejected since Friday morning. We are in active breach, not pending, not delayed." Breached, Ryan tried to pivot. "We're modernizing, Mark. Legacy handoffs like Matt's were never properly transitioned." "Because you fired him before you asked what he did," Mark said, voice sharp and low. You didn't even look at the protocol logs. Ryan stood, trying to look in control. We can reset tokens. Reissue admin chains. Mark shook his head. You don't get it. Vault 9 doesn't care about your title. It needs a custodian signature, and his was the only one coded to federal standard. Ryan sat back down like the wind had been knocked out of him. Melissa poked her head in from the hallway. Her voice cracked when she spoke. Legal says Lisa's offboarding paperwork flagged the custodian handoff as pending, but no transfer was ever completed. That hit hard. Lisa had handled compliance onboarding before she left. She'd pinged me about a replacement custodian role. I told her it needed a signature handoff and biometric match. She said she'd escalated after the new fiscal year. She never got the chance. Now, no Lisa, no custodian, no federal compliance. They were exposed, totally, at the federal level. Ryan mumbled something about reaching out to the software vendor for override credentials. Mark actually laughed, dark and humorless. They'll tell you what they told us in 2018. No override exists. That's the point. The room went dead silent. From the hallway, someone dropped a coffee mug. It shattered across the tile like a gunshot. No one moved. Everyone in that building, from the junior developers to the senior lawyers, felt it. They weren't in trouble. They were cooked. Thursday morning, 10 minutes before the big ops meeting, Hanley kicked the damn door open like he owned the building, which, technically, he did. He stormed in holding a fat blue folder, face red, tie loose, hair half-combed. That folder had weight to it. You could feel it before he even dropped it. "Where's Matt?" he barked. The room froze. Everyone looked at Ryan. Ryan cleared his throat, trying to stand like it was just another normal Thursday. "Matt was part of the restructure, sir." Hanley didn't flinch. He slammed the folder down on the table with a thud that echoed off the glass walls. "You just killed our ability to operate." No one breathed. He flipped the folder open. Inside were printed contracts, red-stamped, government seals, flagged status sheets. $240 million in federal contracts, Hanley snapped. "Gone, all red-flagged. Vault 9 is legally unmanned." "And you let it happen," Ryan fumbled, his voice cracking slightly. "We weren't fully briefed." "You didn't ask?" Hanley roared, slamming his palm on the table so hard Melissa jumped. "She was the keystone," Greg from finance whispered. "Jesus," under his breath. Melissa dropped her coffee, didn't even notice it spilled. The room went totally silent except for the slow drip of coffee pooling on the tile. Ryan tried to pull something out of his ass. "We thought it was just an admin role. It looked redundant on paper. There was no updated documentation." "Because he was the documentation," Hanley barked, pointing toward my empty chair. "You fired the person who held our federal clearance key and didn't even bother asking what it meant." Jordan looked like he was about to throw up. Hanley didn't sit. He didn't lower his voice. He paced the length of the table like a general mid-court-martial. Everyone sat like school kids who knew they were dead. "You modernized your way straight into a federal compliance breach," he said. "Do you understand what that means? Payroll's frozen. Procurement's frozen. We can't move a cent through a contract without that system online." Ryan said nothing. "Vault 9 didn't crash," Hanley went on, voice lower now but sharper. "It followed protocol. The same one Matt wrote, enforced and maintained without a single failure for 15 goddamn years." Ryan looked like he wanted to melt into the wall. Hanley stared at him for a full 5 seconds. Then he picked up the folder, closed it slowly, and said one final thing. Quiet, almost a growl. "You didn't lose an engineer. You lost the foundation. The one guy who never needed credit, never played politics, never asked for anything except working systems and a locked door." Then he walked out. Not another word, no eye contact. Just out the door, folder under his arm, fury trailing behind him like heat off a car hood. Nobody moved. You could hear the building creak, not literally, but emotionally. Like the walls themselves knew the structure was about to collapse. Thursday, exactly 9 a.m. Vault 9's 84-hour window slammed shut, right on schedule. Every monitor in the building blinked red. Custodian role vacated. All systems suspended. Federal transactions froze. Payroll halted. Procurement uploads failed. Compliance access rejected every login attempt. No bypass. No override. Just one brutal message flashing across the screens. No active custodian. Access denied. Melissa was the first to scream. Not loudly, just this panicked, frustrated yelp like something inside her snapped. Greg from finance walked out of his office with both hands in the air. We can't process payroll. Like, at all, Jordan was pale, staring at the server board like it might physically catch fire. The PR team tried to get ahead of it, started typing up some weak-ass memo about scheduled system maintenance. They posted it internally and on the company's site. No one bought it. Legal was already on the phone. Someone from their side had probably already contacted DC. Finance was drafting loss projections before lunch. I wasn't there. I was sitting on my porch with a cup of black coffee, reading a paperback copy of Shogun. Sun was out. Wind was light. I hadn't turned on the news. Didn't need to. The system was already gone. Around 9:12, my phone buzzed. Ryan, please just tell me how to stop this. I stared at the screen for a while. It wasn't anger I felt, or satisfaction, just clarity. A clean line between before and after. There was no more system to stop. Vault 9 was in full lockdown. Protocol CP19 was in control now. Not me, not them. No way back without federal clearance and a biometric match from someone who no longer worked there. They'd nuked the one person who could have saved them, not out of strategy, just arrogance. And now they were bleeding out in front of their own monitors. I locked my phone and set it face down on the table. Didn't reply, didn't need to. They were already out of time.